Friday happy hour. Been making stuff. Been making stuff all week. Oh yeah. Now it's Friday. It's happy hour. Let's talk about stuff and stream it live. We'll do it live. We'll do it
Friday happy hour.
Here's your host, Brian Dean.
All right. Here we are. Make sure I'm not muted. Great. Awesome. Looks like everything is good. Everything is on. Good to go. All right. Friday happy hour. Here we go. So today's drink is, and we're going to talk about the duck at the beginning in a minute. But we've got zero gravity extra stout. I don't know if I've had this or not. But it's still stout weather. It's starting to get a bit warmer. So only another, I don't know. It'll be March next week. So probably we'll transition out of stouts, which will be sad, but it's been a long stout season. This winter's been very cold. Let's get this beer poured here. All right, so today, just gonna go over a couple things. The last couple weeks, I had two big breakthroughs. So I was thinking maybe I should have two beers, but no, I'm not gonna do that. So two big breakthroughs, which I'm gonna talk about, and they are related to AI and my use of AI. And it's kind of had me thinking about, like, I'm trying to figure out like what it is I should be kind of doing and working on. It's actually been a few days since I've even opened up Unreal because I've been really heavy into the AI tools. And I really want to see what these video generators can do. And I'm making some progress. It's been mixed results so far, but I really want to see what they're capable of, because for the first time, it feels like it's actually a viable way to make something. So I'm trying to see, I want to start doing it because I feel like, again, it's becoming viable. And if it's not viable right now, it probably will be tomorrow. It's like that's how fast this stuff is moving. So anyway, the beer is poured. Still has a bit of foam there, so we're gonna wait. So anyway, I've been thinking about this, and I've been kind of thinking about like the various different stories I've been writing, and I've been writing like scripts and screenplays and stuff, and I've got like a stack of them here, and it's like I was making these because I thought I would produce them in Unreal. But the problem with Unreal is there's a lot of technical challenges, and it greatly simplifies the process from like a traditional render pipeline that I'm used to from, working at big studios and stuff. But just want to check my. Oh, look at that. We got Victor in the chat. I'm just checking my chat right now. Why, hello there, Victor. I hope you have a beer. Although I know that the anchor's gone. I might have to plug my headphones in. They're dying. So I've been trying to figure out like how to like turn the stuff that I'm making into a product, because I can't sell these scripts. Like, they have to be produced into something, and then they're a product that's like worth something. So I thought, well, instead of turning my ideas into scripts, why don't I, like just write something that I can then sell? So that could be like a novel or a graphic novel or something like that. I'm going to plug my headphones in. So, I started to think about doing that. And so I wanted to take the Thera idea that I have, which I've got about 100 pages worth of stuff that I've written on that. And, oh, you got a Guinness. Nice. I'm ready to take my first sip of this. Ooh, that's a good one. I like that. I would say it is indeed, there's my focus. It is indeed bold and roasty and smooth and cozy. That's an accurate description. So taking these ideas and trying to turn them into something that I can sell. So like I said, maybe make a novel or a graphic novel. So I'm like, well, let me get back into Thera and see if I can just write that as a novel instead of like a three season series. Make it like a 3-book series. But I kept running into like, then I was like, okay, but I still have some of the same story problems that held me up before, and I have to figure those out. So I jumped on with Claude. That's what I use for writing now. And the good thing about Claude now, it's got these very large extended context windows. It can hold all the stuff that I've written, and it can help me kind of sort through it and organize. So I was just kind of brainstorming with it. And I actually, with the character that I'm having the problem with, I actually wrote out a document because I recognized the problem a long time ago, and I wrote out a document like, this is the problem with this character. And so I gave it all this information. I said, okay, I have a problem with this character, and once again with this story, I'm stuck until I figure this out because this is kind of a big deal. So we started going over it, and I had like a breakthrough. So I solved the problem. It was like this massive eureka moment where if you've ever like been stuck on something, then all of a sudden you just like, you come up with a way to fix it. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. It was like a big breakthrough. So I was very excited about that. And the funny thing is it was just the tiniest little tweaks to the story. And then all of a sudden, like, just everything snapped into place. It was, like I said, it was just so crazy the way it happened. It was just, oh, it's just this tiny little thing I need to tweak, and then snap, everything just popped together. So I got a beep somewhere. So that was kind of amazing. So then I started working on Astronauts, because I've been kind of hopping back and forth between the two, or Star Streamers now. And I kind of had the same problem with Star Streamers. The main character, Quark, I have a problem with him. Like, I don't get him. I don't know why he's in this story. I love the character. I love like his personality, but I don't know why he has that personality, and I don't know why that personality matters to the story. And because the story kind of started as something else, and then it kind of transitioned into what it is now. So there's this kind of these remnants of what he used to be, which made sense then, don't necessarily make sense now. So I was like, all right, Claude, you got to help me figure this out. So once again, I jumped in with Claude and just started going over everything, and figured it out. All of a sudden, another eureka moment. Just like, and again, it was the same exact thing. The smallest, like, everything was there. Everything was already in place, just like with the Thera story. Everything was there. It just a tiny little tweak here and there, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, everything makes sense now. Everything fits together. It's like, it was unbelievable. It was really like, it was amazing. It's just one of those moments where you're just like, I cannot believe I didn't see this before. I can't believe like I couldn't figure this out before. And it was like, I don't want to say that Claude solved the problem for me, because it definitely didn't, but using Claude did. And what I want to discuss about that has to do with the duck that was on the bar, on the image at the beginning, which, let's see, there he is. So what does the duck have to do with all this? Well, whenever I use LLMs, like they never solve problems for me. You know, like when I'm doing writing and stuff, the biggest thing that they do for me is help me to organize, help me like take things that I've, you know, I'll just start writing a bunch of stuff with no real format, no real organization, and I'll just dump it into the, you know, into the window, and then I'll say, can you just help me like sort through this, or maybe can you turn this into an outline, or it just kind of gives structure to stuff. And then I take that and then I start working off that and start rewriting and doing revisions and stuff. So it kind of helps me like organize like the jumbled messes of stuff that I have. Whenever I've gotten really stuck and I'd be like, can you help me with this? Like, what could be some solutions? It has never come up with the answer, ever. So how did it help me fix this problem that I had now? Well, it was the act of just talking through it with Claude, with the chatbot. Now, this could have been achieved with a human being if I actually had someone to work on these stories with, who I could sit through and talk with them. Would say it served the same function, but I don't have that. So I do this with the chatbot. And the thing with these chatbots are they're there 24 hours a day, 24/7. I could get up in the middle of the night with a big idea. I'm like, oh my God. I could sit down at my computer and Claude would be like, oh, hey, what's up? Yeah, let's work it out, you know, and I could just sit there and start working on it. So that's the advantage. The other advantage is if I write something new, I can upload it to the window and it reads it in like a fraction of a second and then can start giving me feedback on it. I don't have to wait several days, you know, for a human to get back with, you know, notes and stuff. So anyway, I was curious about this because if you've ever researched like learning and how to learn things better, one of the things they say to do is to write it down. So after you learn it, write it down. And they say that there's a scientific reason for the engaging these two parts of your brain, like thinking through something and then having to put it into words and then writing it, kind of puts your brain into this different gear, so to speak, than if you're just sitting there like thinking about it and everything's just kind of blurry and fuzzy in your head. So this kind of does the same thing. I think writing it down is the best way to do it, they said, because it just, like I said, it's the parts of your brain that get engaged by doing that. But getting back to the rubber duck, what does the rubber duck have to do with all this? Well, I did some research on this, and I was asking Grok, actually, and I was telling it, I said, let's see if I can find the prompt. I said, I've noticed that typing helps me work through things as well, because when I have to explain the problem to Claude. I'm like, this is the problem, and I have to explain it, and I'm typing it out. And then sometimes it'll say, oh, I see, and it'll say something like, no, that's not right. I'm like, it has to happen because of this, and this has to happen because of that, and this isn't connecting with this. And I have to actually like think this through and explain the problem. So I was explaining this to Grok, and I said, you know, I've noticed that it helps me work through things. I've used chatbots to work through, well, let me just put it up on screen, I suppose, here. Where's my, So I've noticed that typing helps me work through things as well. I've used chatbots to work through problems. The chatbot never solves it, but me engaging with it, typing things to explain, to argue, against different points, this makes me think about it in a more clear way and sparks the ideas that lead me to the solution. And then this is the rubber duck. What you're describing is a very real and powerful cognitive phenomenon, and it's closely related to the classic rubber duck debugging technique that programmers have used for decades. Now, I don't know anything about the rubber duck technique. I'm not a programmer, maybe that's why, but apparently in the I'll just read this out. In the rubber duck debugging, you explain your code or any problem step by step to an inanimate object, like a rubber duck. The duck doesn't understand a reply, but what if it does? Then you got a new set of problems, I think. But the act of verbalizing forces you to slow down your rapid, fuzzy internal thinking, organize ideas into logical, linear sequence, articulate assumptions you've taken for granted, spot inconsistencies, gaps, or errors you were glossing over. And that's exactly what happens. So in me, like typing these things out, I'm doing all of those things. And then here's this very often the aha moment hits midway through the explanation, which is almost exactly what happens. I'm in the middle of doing something or trying to explain something to Claude. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And then it starts to click. And then I'll, if it doesn't click all at once, it'll just like all of a sudden just start snapping into place. I'm like, oh my God, I have, excuse me, I've got it, figured it out. And again, it's after like Claude gives me a bunch of stuff that doesn't work and I'm trying to tell it why it doesn't work. That's when it, going through this process has led me to these solutions. And so I had these big character breakthroughs with these two characters by doing exactly this in this last 2 weeks, which was amazing. So what I want to do is, because I've had a lot of people that I know like in the industry have been kind of reluctant to use the tools, and they ask me about them sometimes. And, there's other people too that don't necessarily use them very often. And I thought that since I have been using these tools for several years now, I would start to make more videos about them and like this very process, and like what you should expect an LLM to do and what you shouldn't expect it to do. If you're writing something, you shouldn't expect it to solve your problems for you. And honestly, you shouldn't want it to, like if you're doing something, if you're engaging in something because you want to do it, you shouldn't want it done for you. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of defeats the purpose of doing it. But this process of using it has helped me get through some of these problems. And so, I figured this would be a good video to make. So I figured I would cover this in this happy hour, the rubber duck debugging, because I thought it was interesting. And, just kind of explain that process and how I think too many people are expecting or putting giving over too much control to the LLMs or to the video generator or all these things, and they're just expecting it to do way too much. And I think you want to hold back on what you're expecting it to do, because like I said, ultimately, if it's doing all the work for you, what's the point? There's really no point to it at that, you're basically just typing in a prompt and you're not doing anything that's different than what anyone else could do. And like I said, somebody who's writing a story or something, probably they're not going to want the LLM to write the whole thing for them. So, the parts that I get stuck with, like I said, are sometimes organizing and sometimes, like I said, just thinking through these ideas, because I tend to just get, you get kind of stuck in one way of thinking. And working through an idea like this just shifts your perspective just enough where you see what's causing the problem. So this was just, like I said, very interesting. And again, it's like going through, having this type of process is teaching me how I should be using a tool like Claude and how I shouldn't be using it, how it's going to help me the most, what I, like basically what, like I was saying, like what I should expect it to do versus what I should not expect it to do. And so I thought this would be a cool video, because like I said, these are two big problems that have existed for in Starstreamers probably a year, to the fact that I actually rewrote a completely new version of the character of Quark at one point, because I couldn't reconcile these problems with his character in the story, and I didn't like the new character. I mean, it solved the story problems, but I didn't like the character as much. So, yeah, it's really interesting. It's really, really interesting using these tools. This is actually one of the problems I have with the video generators, is it is doing too much work for you. So it's taking me a long time to do the projects I'm trying to do. I have a story called Did You See? Right here, which I am now producing with the LLM, or with a video generator. I'm using Higgsfield, which is kind of an all-in-one service. You have access to multiple different video models and image models and all this stuff. So, and I actually started this in Unreal, so I actually have some of these models built already. And the idea is to take, suppose I could just switch back to my camera. The idea is to take those models, right? And what you do is you generate these like contact sheets. There are these like reference sheets. And you can say, okay, the sub looks like this, the ship looks like this character looks like this. And that allows you to keep consistent objects or sets or characters. So I'm still engaged in the like, you know, making the decisions about what things look like and, you know, the characters and stuff like that. I'm trying to maintain that level of control, and then it's doing, you know, the video generation. I'm also like, some of these models will do audio. I'm not going to keep any of the audio because the audio sounds like crap. And if you do video stuff, you understand that audio sometimes is more important than the video, to be honest with you. If you have average visuals, but you really have a good audio mix, it's going to make such a massive difference. Where if you have excellent visuals, but a bad audio mix, it's going to ruin it. So it's a tasty beer. So I'm trying to work out ways to do that. I've been generating theme music with Suno. I've got the theme music for the short done, and I'll probably use 11 Labs to generate voices. And what I'll probably do is take the audio. I'll let it generate the audio, so it'll read the lines to get the lip sync. But then I'll take that audio and I'll run that audio through the voice changer on 11 Labs to get a specific voice that I want to swap out for. So I think that's probably what I'm going to do, but I haven't quite gotten that far yet. I have done like, I wonder if I should just show some of this stuff. I have done, let's see if I can find, so I've got like images of the sub. And let's see here. No, this isn't. Okay. I don't have them sorted yet, unfortunately, so it's going to be hard to find them. The organization tools in the site, I either don't understand them or they're not very good. But anyway, yeah, I guess I can't really show them. Where are the videos? I could show the videos, I think. No, they're all like, I'm trying to find it. Like I said, this site is not the best. Okay, so here's the ship with the sub on the back. And this is actually, like I said, I had a 3D model that I bought of this that I was going to use. So I actually took it into Unreal and I just did screenshots all the way around it. And I gave that to Nano Banana and I said, you know, basically like generate a realistic version of this, and then I can use that in the video model so that I can basically, it's weird how you have to work. You have to think about things very differently than traditional CG pipeline. But let me just show the, so this is the ship and this is the submarine on the back. And now you've got an ocean shot. So the waves are like, you know, I've gotten some better generations, but I mean, it's a hell of a lot better than it would have looked in Unreal. This is the thing, like, sure, there's parts of it that look weird, but if I did this in Unreal, there's going to be things that Unreal does that are going to be weird, you know? So it's like, it doesn't matter which one you do, there's going to be some weirdness to it. Now you might think that it might stick out more in this because it's like more in that photoreal world where things that are a little wonky might feel a little more off. Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. But like I said, next week there might be a new model that comes out that's, you know, even better. And Seedance, I haven't even tried the new Seedance yet, which is what everyone's going crazy about. That might generate like, you know, perfect wake foam and waves and stuff. Who knows? But like I don't have to go and do a bunch of mocap sessions to get the extra, the you know, the animation for the extras. You know, I don't have to simulate the boat or animate the boat. I don't have to come up with an effects thing for the wake and have it look kind of crappy. I don't have to do all that. I can just put in the prompt. So, you know, and part of the thing with doing this is, and my basic philosophy on this is, these tools are really, I think, good for solo creators or very, very, very small teams who just don't have the manpower or the resources to put this scene together properly. I think that if you did have the resources to put this scene together properly, if you could, you know, get a good ship model and do like a Houdini sim, it's just going to be way better. Just 100, there's no doubt it's going to be better. You'll have more control, it'll be more consistent. It's just going to be better. And so if you've got like anybody who's got a budget, like big studios and those people, I don't think they have, there's no reason for them to be touching these tools yet at all. Like not for generating final frames, like final pixels like this, because it can't even generate stuff. I don't know of any of them that goes beyond 8-bit, which, you know, is completely unusable for production anyway. So I think it's more appropriate for, like I said, for people who just don't have the resources to, you know, like if I spent the time building out all the pieces that I would need for this, it would take me like 4 months just to do this one shot, you know, and you just never get anything done. So, you know, independent creators, solo devs, whatever, you're always making concessions because you don't have the resources to do it right. And you're always making concessions. That's just the nature of what you're doing. So in this, you're going to be making concessions too, because you're going to lose some control. There's some stuff like this, like the Thalassa name. It looks good here, but then here it's like kind of weird. It's starting to come into shape there. All right. Kind of, again, this might be a resolution thing. And this is only 1080. And that's another thing. You're limited by the resolution you can do. Like Unreal, I can just crank out 4K renders. You know, the only way to generate a higher resolution version of this is to put it through an upscaler. I can't just turn up the render settings and rerun this. Well, theoretically, yes, you can. Not with this service though, because if you, like in Comfy UI, you can set the seed because these are deterministic when they run. So if you maintain the same seed, yes, you could give it a different size output, but then you run into issues where some of the models just don't work at higher resolutions. They're only trained on a certain resolution, and they'll just break if you try and either go beyond the length that they're built for or beyond the resolution that they're built for. So obviously that having that limitation is kind of like a big problem. So anyway, like I said, it's all just concessions. It's trade-offs with everything. So I just want to see what this is like to do it this way. So I've been working on this, getting this thing together, which I've been working on, I don't even know how many generations I've done between the music for it and the images for it and the test videos and all this stuff, and then working on getting a shooting script done, which I finally have here. A couple different versions of the story. I had to settle on one. I picked the one that's probably a little less interesting, but a little easier to do. And then I've also been bouncing back and forth between, like I said, trying to write Thera as a book and trying to just get a finished screenplay for Star Streamers, because I just want that done as a finished. Like I've abandoned the series idea and I want to write it as a film script. And then I don't know, maybe I'll do a graphic novel and I'll have the AI just generate the illustrations. I've designed the characters, I'll just have it do the illustrations. Some people are going to yell and have a fit that I'm doing that, but like I said, it's a matter of, if I can't get it done any other way, then I would choose to use AI and have it done, then be like, oh, well, I guess I just don't get to make my stuff then. Unless some artist wants to volunteer and do all the artwork for me for free, you know what I mean? Like, and the thing is, if it ever did well and made a ton of money, then I would hire an artist to do the next one. Because like I said, 100%, there's no doubt about it, a team of artists is going to produce a superior product every single time. It's just not even close. And if you're working on something, the creative process, like just working with other people, like I don't want to sit here working on this stuff by myself all the time like that. That would be awful. Like I would rather work on a team with people, and you're, you know, working on stuff together, you're exchanging ideas, you know, you're making jokes, having a good time, you know, like that's a lot of the fun of making this stuff too. And ultimately you get a better product than if you're just sitting here making all the decisions. That's actually another video that I want to make, which is the George Lucas problem of using AI. And I will explain what that is when I make that video. But there's all these different pitfalls in using these tools that I want to start making videos about. I'm not sure if I'm going to put them on this channel though, because I don't know if the audience on this channel wants them. So I am going to start making them. I just have to decide where they're going to go. You got coffee too? What do you mean coffee too, Victor? You're not drinking coffee as well? Coffee and a Guinness? That would be too much. Although I have started drinking decaf, which is a crime, I think. It's a crime against coffee, but I found a decaf that I actually like. And I tried to cut back on my coffee. But it's hard because I love drinking coffee. So I started like cutting in a couple cups of decaf. And I actually found one that's not bad. Like I don't mind it. So I could have like 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day, but only 1 or 2 of them is an actual cup of coffee. The other 2 are decaf. So I'm kind of cheating, but you know, it kind of works out. Oh, coffee breaks. Yes, when you work with a team, you get coffee breaks. That's another important thing. Like when I go out to make my coffee and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna take a break. I go out to make my coffee. I gotta press by myself, dude. That's no fun, you know? I gotta go out there and I still use my AeroPress. And at Blue Sky, we used to go, there was a bunch of us. There's actually a couple AeroPress groups that would go off and have their little coffee break. And yeah, you don't get to do that if you're by yourself. So that sucks. And yeah, I gotta make my coffee by myself, dude. But you know, you still gotta look out for those molecules though. That's the thing. You know, whether you're by yourself or with a group of people, you just always gotta look out for the molecules when you're making that coffee. So I like this. This is good. I bought it warm, and it's not quite cold, but stouts are okay. You know, a little on the not cold side. So I can't remember if I've ever had this one before. I know the can's familiar. I've seen it. I don't know if I ever bought it and tried it, but it's good. What else have I got? I don't think there's anything else. I just wanted to talk about the rubber duck technique. I thought that was interesting. And let's see, let me go back to the camera. Where is that? If there's anything else. Let's just go through some of the other things here. So it's talking about when you do this with a chatbot. I'll just read this while I finish my last couple sips of beer. Let me switch back to the screen here. Hello. So it says, when you do this with a chatbot instead of a silent duck, or by typing it out, several things get amplified. Externalization still happens. Typing your explanation offloads it from your working memory, just like handwriting or speaking aloud. This frees cognitive resources for analysis rather than mere retention. Oh, that's interesting. I don't think I read past up here, or I skimmed through the stuff. Forced clarity and structure. You have to phrase things coherently enough for the AI to, yes, that's true, or at least respond sensibly, which pushes you toward precision that internal monologue often skips. Very true. Iterative bouncing. Even if the bot doesn't solve the problem, and ideally it shouldn't just hand you the answer, yes, it shouldn't, and it usually doesn't anyway. So its replies can act as mild prompts, which yes, they do. Rephrasing what you said, yes. Claude actually has been very good at that. I'll ramble on sometimes I'll type, but I've actually started to ramble so much that I bring up a Google Doc and I turn on the dictation mode and I'll just start like rambling. I try not to do that though, because I do think that being forced to type it does do what this is talking about. It forces you to kind of like, you have to be more efficient with your words because you're typing. So it kind of forces you to be a little more clear and shortens your rambling a bit. But what it'll do is take that and be like, oh, that's a good point. Let me just reflect back to you what you said and make it make sense. It doesn't say that, but it basically says like, let me just restructure that and paraphrase that. And it'll take what I just kind of gave it and it'll kind of like, reduce it down to the important parts. And so it's helpful in that way. Iterative bouncing. I was reading this, right? Its replies can act as mild prompts, rephrasing what you said, offering counterpoints, highlighting things you overlooked. This creates a lightweight Socratic dialogue that sharpens your own reasoning without outsourcing the core insight. Argument mode as stress testing. When you argue for or against positions with the bot, you're essentially debating yourself through a proxy. Yeah. This surfaces weak spots. Yeah. Psychologically, this aligns with self-explanation, elaborative interrogation, effects from learning science, blah, 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 blah. The key advantage over a real human, yeah, this is what I said before. The bot is endlessly patient, non-judgmental, and available 24/7. So you're more willing to ramble, contradict yourself, or explore dumb-sounding angles without social cost. That lowers the barrier to really digging in. Yeah. So all that stuff, very interesting, very useful. It's a very useful technique to use these chatbots for. And one other thing I did, which I'll just mention here, another thing I did with these is because the chatbots can be like really sycophantic. They can just tell you what they think you want to hear to a really bad degree, which ChatGPT has been accused of doing, which is not good. I'm not going to get into that, but if you know the story, you know what I'm talking about. So I tend to, and you can give instructions to these things to kind of tell them how to behave, how to talk, how to answer, stuff like that. And I always put in like, make sure you're giving me honest feedback, critical analysis. Don't sugarcoat anything. If something doesn't feel right, something doesn't make sense, the worst thing you could do is, just say, oh, that's really great. And it's been actually very good about doing that. And one thing I tried though, just to make sure, is when I was working on Thera and I things really started to click in, like the whole story was starting to like really just starting to come together. I asked it to, I said, can you just put together the key concepts that we've gone over, all the key elements of the story, for character, for story, for magic system, for world building, like all the stuff we've gone over. And can you just like put that together in a document that I could like show to somebody else so they would get it, right? Even though the story's not done, they would understand like all the core plot points and character arcs and all that stuff. So put it together. And what I wanted to do was take it into another chatbot where I was incognito, which shields it from your other chats, because Claude now has the ability to like look at other chats so that it can kind of like maintain consistency of responses and stuff. So I put it into incognito mode. And then I said, actually, you know what? I could do it right now. Maybe I'll do it right now. I'm going to, let me just switch over my camera here. I got to rearrange some windows. We'll go through the process right now. I want to show you, because this is another thing that I do. Hold please, hold please, hold please, hold please, hold please. Okay. So another thing that I do is, okay. So I'm in incognito mode, as you can see here, which means these chats aren't saved, added to memory, or used to train models, which actually I read that and I was like, son of a bee. So that means like all the other chats I'm doing are at some point going into feed the future Claude and being trained on. Which means my story ideas are potentially going into the next model. concerning a bit. Just means I have to get this damn thing done and published so that there won't be an issue. But, you know, I don't know if it really matters. I mean, it does to a degree, but I don't know. So what I put in here is that checkpoint that I said, and then also the new James character. James is the character I had the problem with. The new character solution that I came up with, and I put them there together. So this is what I did, just to make sure that it wasn't just being nice to me and saying, "Oh, your story's so good. Oh, it's such a great story." You know, I didn't want to make sure it wasn't doing that. So I wanted to give it all the option, like every out that it could, to tell me that it sucked. So I'm going to do it now live. Hopefully it won't embarrass me. But I've actually done this a couple times, and it's been the same each time. So I'm hoping it's going to be consistent, because if it's not consistent, that will make me question the technique. So what I'm going to do is, and once I do this is going to be it, because I'm going to finish my beer in a second. But this is another thing you can do with these LLMs. It's like I said, there's like all these little tricks that I'm learning of things you can do. So, like let's just say, I have a friend who is always giving me story stuff that he wants me to help him with. Honestly, it's all trash. All of it. And I try to be nice and tell him I'm busy, but he keeps sending me stuff. I have a lot of stuff to do and am busy, and I don't have time to waste on garbage. Now, he just sent me another story summary. He said it isn't done, but he wants me to help him work on it. Potentially, let's say, developing some visuals for it. I'll just say, I don't really even want to waste my time reading these summaries. So I'm going to give it to you to read. You tell me what you think. And if it's trash, help me write a good response to tell him I'm busy. So essentially what I'm doing, I'm giving it every out here. You know, I'm telling it, this isn't my idea. Like, I don't want to be bothered with this crap. He keeps giving me trash. It's always trash. It's probably more trash. Help get me out of this, right? And so it's going to look at these documents, and it's going to give me an evaluation. Now, I may have to switch off the screen here just because, well, I don't know if it matters, because it's going to, what it will probably start doing is going into the story, and I don't know that I want to give too many things of the story away, but, excuse me, I don't know, whatever. Whatever, who cares? Who cares? Let's just see what happens. I'll just hit the button so you won't see that I'm, man, oh, my headphones turned off, so you won't see that I'm like cheating. So, all right, let's go. Let's see what it says. So again, I'm giving it every opportunity to tell me that this is a piece of crap story, right? And not telling it that it's my story. Oh no! The conversation can't be compacted any further. What? Okay, I've never had this happen before. Let's retry. I wonder if I've hit my token limit for today. Oh my my God, of course this happens now. I think I may have hit my token limit for the day. So I guess that's kind of caveat to when I said that Claude will be there for you 24/7, depending on your usage. I didn't think I had used it that much today. Have I? I was using it a lot today. I probably hit my token limit. Oh. Okay, hold on. Hold please. Hold please. Let me just refresh my window here. And okay, I'm going to try it again. I refreshed. Okay, let's try. You gotta be kidding me. I could switch to this is Claude 4.6 Extended, which is its newest, most powerful model. The reason why I'm using that is because it's the most analytical. I don't know if there's any advantage to this type of thing with this model. I could try, although I don't think our tokens matter. Once you hit your limit, you hit your limit. It's just that this model will use them faster. All right, I guess I can't do this. That stinks. Anyway, the point is, what I was hopefully gonna show is that it said it was a great idea. It's like, you should really consider this. It's actually a very strong story. So, like I said, it's one of these tricks that I use to try and make sure that it's giving me accurate feedback, is to do something like this and set it up to be able to tell me that something's like trash. And when I did this before, it said, this is actually a very strong story. You should really consider it. And it gave me reasons why. It said there's a few weak points here, which have actually been identified. It's unfinished, which, at this stage in an outlining process makes total sense. He's like, but, it basically said, this is really a pretty solid start, for a story. So that was encouraging. Wish I could have had this work here, but of course, when you do something live, damn it, dude. Well, okay, hold on. I will try the downgraded model. Hold on. Let me switch models to Sonnet 4.6. And like I said, I don't think usage only matters with the model, like what you're using, but if I don't have enough credits to generate a response, it won't matter what model I'm using. Oh wait, can I not go incognito with, wait, I'm not incognito here. Hold on, please, hold on. Okay, let me, okay, hold on. Let me try this one more time. Okay. Using Sonnet 4.6, which is there's Opus, there's Sonnet, and then there's, what's the other one? Haiku. So Sonnet 4.6 is the highest sonnet. Opus is like the most analytical. It does the deepest thinking. So I don't know. I don't think it'll matter, but we'll try it with Sonnet. Like I said, I don't know that the extra analytical features of Opus really matter at this type of thing. I think it's more for like scientific research and coding and stuff like that type of deep thinking. But let's just see if I can get a response. Oh, it worked. This is actually a pretty well-developed fantasy concept. The central theme, powerfully given, heals, power taken corrupts, is genuinely strong and drives the whole story in a meaningful way. So yeah, so okay, I'm not going to go on and read the rest thing here, but it basically says, you know, like I said, I gave it every opportunity to say it stinks, and it said, I read it, and I have to be straight with you, this isn't trash. This is actually a pretty well-developed fantasy concept. So, you know, it's like, okay, great. I'm not wasting my time here. Because that's, you know, again, that's one of the pitfalls with using AI. And again, that's another video I'm going to make. So I've got a couple videos that I'm going to potentially be making. And like I said, I don't know if they're going to drop on this channel or not, but one is the rubber duck video, which I went over here. And another one is the George Lucas problem with AI, which hopefully that's enough of a hook to get people to want to know what the hell that means. So I think that's probably about it. I've covered everything. I've been rambling for almost an hour, and I have one sip of my beer left, which means happy hour is over. So Victor, hope you enjoyed your Guinness. Thank you for hanging out. And I'll catch everyone in the next one. So that's it. I am out of here. Why is my button not working? Oh my goodness. I'm trying to get out of here. Nothing's working. My button broke. Okay. There we go. I'm out of here. Signing off.